Have you ever wondered why there are so many different denominations of Christianity? To answer this question, we must travel back to the Reformation, where it all started with one man. First, we must understand that most of Europe practiced Catholicism. Martin Luther, a monk in Germany, struggled to make sense of a few practices within the Catholic Church. He was distraught seeing commoners or everyday citizens, much like us, being told that they needed a middleman to speak to God, or they must pay for special prayers, or that believing simply wasn't enough. Luther knew that the Bible taught faith and grace. And you see, that was one issue. Religious leaders had access to the Bible, but many commoners did not. They had to trust what religious leaders taught, and Luther could not stand the lies and injustice. So Luther set out to reform the Catholic Church, and that's all he wanted to do, reform the current church. But we'll see that he got much more than he had bargained for. Okay, so Luther posts his 95 Thesis, his statement of all the corruption in the church. He spoke about true foundations of Christianity, such as salvation through faith and grace. Meanwhile, a new invention surfaces and society really starts to change. Johannes Gutenberg invents the movable type printing press. You know how there are thousands upon thousands of copies of the same book today? Yeah, that was not the case in the world at this time. So this invention is a big deal. For the first time, books could be printed by the masses and for the masses. The Bible was one of the first books to be printed by this technology. This means now common folk could read it for themselves and in their own language. Well, this just added fuel to the fire for the Reformation. People began reading the Bible and realizing the Catholic Church had been pulling their wool over their eyes, so to speak. Many people were not happy and began showing stronger support for Luther and the Reformation than ever before. Seeing the anger and distrust grow made the Catholic Church nervous. Groups like the Council of Trent met to enact reforms within the Catholic Church. Not all religious leaders were so understanding. See, some people liked the church the way it was because it allowed them to maintain power. So some people, like the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, tried using war. He was unsuccessful though, and the Peace of Augsburg brought that to a happy ending. Things heated up. People left the Catholic Church and started following a new theology. This theology, started by folks such as John Calvin, was called Protestantism. Appropriate since they protested the Catholic Church. By this point, there was so much division inside and outside of the Catholic Church that things would never be the same. And as the struggles continued over the years, people sought religious refuge and freedom and left their own countries. Many of them came here to the United States, although not quite the United States yet. And today, we still practice religious freedom and separation of church and state because no one wants to go through that again. It's all kind of like how the dark side brainwashed all of the stormtroopers. The stormtroopers never really questioned what they were doing or why until one day, one guy, Finn, decides that he does not agree with all of the orders issued to stormtroopers after seeing the suffering of so many Jakku residents. So he decides to break away and seek out freedom to do the right thing. Everyone is surprised, but he gains support from people around him, and he helps save the day. Yeah, it's kind of like that. That's just a little bit of an insight into why we have so many denominations. It all started with one man wanting to reform the current church and snowballed into a bigger movement than he ever expected. Different ideas on theology continue to develop over time. So if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty details of the reasoning for each of the denominations' formations, I invite you to look into their individual histories and ideals. Good luck and enjoy! And as always, may the force be with you. And also with you.